Goliath is the most famous giant in the Bible, but he wasn't the only giant, and he may not have been the tallest giant either. There is a mysterious, rarely mentioned Egyptian warrior who may have been taller, but shared the same fate as Goliath. And while it was not at the hand of David, it was a contributing factor to David's legacy as the one to accomplish Joshua's incomplete conquest. Hey everyone, if you're new here, my name's Brad. I'm a PhD candidate, and on this channel I explore the fascinating world of mythology as it relates to the biblical text. Now, I recently did a video detailing the textual issues of Goliath's height, and I'll leave a link to that video in the description below, and I will summarize some of those points from that video here. Now, this unnamed Egyptian warrior appears in both 1 Chronicles as well as 2 Samuel. And both of these narratives are parallel accounts of one of David's mighty men, the head of his bodyguard, named Benaiah. And I'm going to read this story from 1 Chronicles. Now, I understand that Samuel predates Chronicles, and Chronicles also utilize Samuel as well as Kings for source material. However, there is a textual issue within the account in 2 Samuel that 1 Chronicles seems to have fixed. If you have access to Emmanuel Tove's textual criticism of the Hebrew Bible, the 4th edition, he goes into depth on this issue on page 100. And essentially what's going on here is that within 2 Samuel, this Egyptian is described as a man of good appearance. And because of this, you have some translations such as the NRSV, which translate this as a handsome man. But as Tove notes, there is no virtue in killing a good-looking man. And it's more likely that the Hebrew phrase behind a man of good appearance, ish mareh, was corrupted from a textual reading of ish midah, which in English would render a giant of a man. And here's what the account states in 1 Chronicles chapter 11, starting in verse 22. And Benaiah, the son of Joiada, was a valiant man of Kavzael, a doer of great deeds. He struck down 2 heroes of Moab. There's some textual issues there as well, but I'm not going to get into those on this video. He also went down and struck down a lion in a pit on a day when snow had fallen. And he struck down an Egyptian, a man of great stature, 5 cubits tall. The Egyptian had in his hand a spear like a weaver's beam, but Benaiah went down to him with a staff and snatched the spear out of the Egyptian's hand and killed him with his own spear. Now, if you're familiar with the David versus Goliath story, the parallels to this account and to David and Benaiah are unmistakable. Both of these men killed a lion. You'll find David's account in 1 Samuel 17, 34 through 37. Both used the enemy's own weapons for the final blow. In the case of David, it was Goliath's sword, whereas Benaiah used the spear of the Egyptian. And both Goliath and the Egyptian giant's spears are described in relation to a weaver's loom or a weaver's beam. And perhaps most obvious is that both David and Benaiah are underdogs in this fight, both in regard to their height as well as the weapons that they possess. But these parallels draw the link between David, his men, and the warrior culture that they are a part of. David surrounded himself with mighty men who fought alongside him. David was a man of war. And this is not the only instance where one of David's mighty men fights a giant like him. There are 4 more instances of these events occurring. These accounts are found in 1 Chronicles chapter 20, verses 4 through 8. And a total of 4 giants from Gath are slain by David's men. Now, there is a major text critical issue on one of those, and you will have competing views amongst scholars amongst who actually killed the giant and who the giant actually is. But that'll be the subject of a future video. Now, if you're familiar with the David and Goliath story, you may be wondering how this Egyptian giant is taller at 5 cubits when Goliath is described in 1 Samuel 17, verse 4, as 6 cubits and a span. And the answer to this is that the reading 6 cubits and a span, which is found in most English Bibles today, is based on the Masoretic Text. However, the Septuagint describes Goliath as significantly shorter at 4 cubits and a span. And for reference, a cubit is about 18 inches tall. So 6 cubits in a span is going to give you roughly 9 feet 6 inches tall. 4 cubits in a span is going to give you roughly 6 feet 9 inches tall. And at 5 cubits, the height of this Egyptian warrior, that is going to be roughly 7.5 feet tall. And while the Masoretic Text has been the authorized text for both Jewish and Christian Bibles, the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls has revealed something fascinating regarding Goliath's height. And that is the manuscript known as 4Q Sam A from Qumran that predates the Masoretic Text by over 1,000 years. And it provides a height of Goliath at 4 cubits in a span, matching the Septuagint, which is also older than the Masoretic Text. And if you want more on why the 4 cubits height found in both the Septuagint and 4Q Sam A is the more likely reading, then I would highly recommend this article by biblical scholar J. Daniel Hayes. And if we accept that this reading of 4 cubits is correct for Goliath's height, this means that the title of tallest giant doesn't belong to Goliath anymore, but rather to this unnamed Egyptian warrior. And if you want the full video on Goliath's height, as well as why the 4 cubits rendering fits better with the overall narrative of the story, then you can click this link right here. And be sure to like and subscribe, and check out all my other videos and playlists on biblical mythology. Thank you all so much, and I will see you in the next video.